Hello twin flames, welcome to my channel. Whether you're new or you're coming back, thank you for joining me today. And it's a snow day in New York, just quite exciting. It's like a proper snow day finally. I think it's like first time in years that it's real snow. It stays for a while, and yeah, it's pretty amazing out there. So fairy tale, of course, taking trains is harder. Pros and cons, pros and cons. In the meantime, we will jump into the reading. Today, Mars officially moved into Aquarius. I promised a little bit more on it, but I don't want this reading to get too long. Yesterday, it went long. So what I'll do instead is I'll publish some info on that on the community tab. And if you're interested in this topic, you're welcome to read. It shifted at 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time today. So yeah, you can adjust the timing, but pretty much it's today, I believe, for almost any any time zone where I have my viewers. All right, so yeah, that's a pretty big shift, especially because Mars is that energy that's like pushing us to move forward, to make important decisions and to assert ourselves. Think Aries energy, Emperor energy, right? I spoke about it in the last reading actually, because the feminines had that energy. The feminines had that energy of like, okay, I'm putting my needs front and center, right? If you're not okay with it, if it doesn't sound good, have a nice one. Yeah, because my needs matter. My goals, my wants, yes, I appreciate that. I'm still happy to take care of you guys, but it doesn't mean I'm gonna sacrifice my own views, goals, and standards. A lot of it has to do with standards, actually. But anyway, tomorrow is Valentine's. I'll do something special for Valentine's Day. I'm not 100% sure what it's gonna be yet, but yeah, expect something sweet, and not that my readings aren't sweet, but something a little extra lovey-dovey, I think. And of course, I've posted all of the horoscope readings on my other channel for February, so check those out if you haven't done that yet. In the meantime, I've got the Sacred Traveler deck for the Oracle message, so let's see what we have for Divine Feminines watching. What's the Oracle message for today? And of course, if you're interested in a message for a personal story, reach out via an email address or through my website, mindfulbamboo.com. I'm posting an article today about asking for help, so check that out. Okay, so for feminines, we have Voyage of the Heart. Love flows through you and to you. Beautiful. Very Valentine-y. In faraway places, get ready for new horizons. Oh, I love this. It's like embarking on a new adventure. This is that part when somebody already says like, okay, we're going there and there 2 weeks from now. And you're like, oh, okay, I need to get organized. So this is like a nudge to get organized, feminists. That's what I'm hearing for you. If anything, it's about your state of heart, the healing progress, the heart chakra activation, and third eye I'm hearing for a lot of people. So if there is something that you can do there to kind of affirm your progress, to support yourself, that's essential, the preparation. But yeah, in my example with the travel, that would be when you start checking that you don't need any visas to go to that location, or at the very least that you've got your your special code right cleaned, you have your luggage ready, and you're making arrangements for your pets, plants, kids, whoever, whatever else you will need somebody to take care of while you're away. That kind of mindset, that kind of alertness, that's being asked right now, because it can come at any moment. Of course, it will come in at the divine moment, divine timing, but we won't necessarily know until it hits us. That's the big part of it. For masculines, we have solitude. In silence, peace prevails. So masculines might be looking for moments of solitude, and as we have that Mars in Aquarius, it's going to be even more and more around like contemplating the meaning of life, soul searching, but in the context of how does it benefit the humanity, the society, maybe my family, my community, my followers, my students, you know, depending on what you do, who is your audience, right? Like, how can I make a difference there? Maybe you're in a band, in a musical band, and you do all kinds of volunteer projects, and that may not be like immediately on top of your mind, or like, okay, what difference do I make in this world? But now you're actually considering it. It's like, okay, so I'm playing a sax in this band. Yeah, we have these gigs, they're fun, but like at the end of the day, what kind of difference do I make? And you start unpacking that. I mean, divine masculines, right? And that's how it starts like unfolding for you. But it can only be done in moments of peace, not in the survival mode, for sure. Okay, let's see what we have in terms of tarot. Actually, I will use this Spellcaster Tarot again, but as clarifiers. And my main deck is going to be the Tarot of Mystical Moments, right? Yes. Like, are they mystical, magical? They are mystical, after all. All right. If you'd like me to ask any specific questions in my reading for Valentine's Day, let me know in the comments. Knight of Pentacles, bottom of the deck. Yep. Progress is there, even if you don't see it with your naked eye, right? That's what our discernment is for. That's what our intuition is for. So that we can see things, even if we can see them with our heart, essentially. There we go. Okay, Hanged Man, yeah. And we can see it in that point of contemplation. Not by making things happen, but by understanding how things are unfolding. Think about it. Okay, so feminines, you've got Six of Swords clarified by Eight of Wands. And again, the contemplation pose, the yoga pose, the meditation pose, right? Like this, again, and Six of Swords is kind of like going into the place of peace, into the place of mindfulness. I like this anchor as well. It's like she's anchored, even if she's in the sky, on this cloud, she's anchored, right? It's like that point of balance, right? So circumstances can vary, but it's about the state of mind and state of soul, right? So this is where you ask to be. If you need some additional information, ask the questions. And also you can do your own research, right? Whatever comes to your consciousness, to your mind, those topics are important. They may not be necessarily, because I've talking a lot about soul searching and thinking about like the meaning of it all. It doesn't have to be that big. It doesn't mean that it's not, but doesn't have to sound that way, right? Maybe you are watching a movie about, I don't know, a girl and some of the things she likes to do as a little girl. And that brings you back to what you were doing as a little girl, or how maybe some of your interests or hobbies were discouraged, right? And that's like, it like immediately takes you there. Like movie moment, like time machine, and you're there and you see yourself in that moment, right? This is huge, right? So pay attention to those things, right? Those are your downloads, those are your messages, or what is important. For some reason, it came to you that way, through there, right? It's an opportunity for insight and healing, for bringing back peace and love into that place. And that's how you anchor yourself, even if it seems a little mystical or out of reach just because it's in the past. I heard it somewhere very recently, somebody saying, well, you can't change the past, right? Like you can't change your traumatic past. It's like, no, but when we reprogram our brain and when we heal that trauma, we are changing it essentially. We're changing those timelines too. For masculines, Four of Swords clarified by Five of Wands. So that's to me, it's another card of finding peace, right? That's a meditation card. It's a little bit different, but like, you know, if it's the same deck I was using, so if you had to find the synchronistic one, that would be it, right? And we also had the Hangman underneath. So like all the energies and the cards that we see are about taking rest and recharging and putting the hustle and bustle of life behind, in this case, right? Like things can wait. It may seem on the surface that they can, but they can't. You know, I just had this metaphor with someone I work with, and it reminded me of a few cases from the corporate world where I used to work, where and I'm still doing some work for them. It's like, you know, there are people, and working closely with people, I always had to do with somebody who was, and that reminded me of me, somebody who's a workaholic and they feel like they're irreplaceable, or somebody else might feel like they're irreplaceable, right? Like if we lose this person, it's like the end of the world. And then this person goes on vacation, or even suddenly something happens, they have to take a few days off, and you're like, first thought is like, oh my god, we're gonna die. Like that person knows so much and they can handle so many things, and they're just gone for a few days. I mean, seriously. But you know what? After a few days, the person comes back refreshed, and the world is still there and it's going. And yeah, maybe we haven't solved 100% of issues, but we solved 95, and that's good enough for that week, for those few days. And that person needed to recharge, right? And a lot of times those people themselves don't really see it that way because they are so attached. They have that, I want to say, sense of responsibility, but this is even more than that. This is like a few steps further. When it becomes too much, you know, when they start sacrificing their wellness. But that's where DMs are right now. And that's where they're asked to step aside, step away, and have that nap and have those dreams and think about why. Additional question, the devil clarified by Knight of Swords. Ooh, some kind of toxicity in communication. Where does it manifest? What can we do with it? How we can pull it out and disinfect. Some reason thinking about sanitizer, so maybe sanitize. How can we sanitize our mind space with those things? Five of Swords, clarified by the Hermit for the feminines. Yeah, so this is like appealing to people's weaknesses or gaps in skills and vision, right? Like, I'll find a weak spot and I'll focus there, right? And our knowledge, our abilities as empaths, and also our psychic abilities, actually give us a lot of tools from that perspective to read people well. And everyone is going to be doing that differently. I'm not saying it's like a template and copy and paste, but the result of it is that we kind of know what a specific person responds to, what is painful for them, what is going to be impactful. How do we get their attention like that? You see, she's holding this big flower. It's very white. It stands out. Like, to me, that's like exactly that. Like, okay, I'm going to be holding something here. Like, I'm going to tell you something that's going to draw your attention 100%. And then I'm going to say what I want to say. Right? And it's not always for the highest good, right? And that's the illusion, right? A lot of times we still make it very personal, and we still turn it around to kind of cover or overcome our own insecurities. So it's not like the truth, it's our version of the truth, right? You hurt me and I want you to know that kind of idea. So what I see here immediately as an antidote, because that was my intention for this question, is to take a pause, actually, as the Hermit suggests, you know, like not to be too rash with those steps, right? Acknowledge that you may have an agenda here, that you may be overly judgmental, or you know, like kind of like do the overcompensation or project your insecurities on a person, right? And see how you can approach it with a kinder and more compassionate way. And I'm not saying put up with bad treatment, right? But how can you make it not like hurtful to the person, because you will know what to do to make that impact, but something that will actually make a difference, right? Because the fact that you're gonna make them uncomfortable or hurt their feelings does not necessarily mean that something's going to change. It's usually the other way around, actually, because people start resisting more. So, something to think about. For masculine, Seven of Swords. Wow, look at all those weird cards. And I don't mean weird, I mean like I hate this kind of cards. Seven of Swords, clarified by Five of Cups, both of them. They're not actually that bad in these decks. Like the art, like the mood is actually not bad. Look at this. Five of Cups, he's actually holding the two cups. And again, it's another side of the Hermit. Look at that. Isn't that another variation of the same person? Just at a different moment in time. And Seven of Swords here is about this creature that's like, yeah, I mean, she's kind of stealing the eggs, but look at the face, look at the embrace, right? It's like, it looks like these eggs were abandoned in the first place, and I want to nourish them, I want to nurture them. I don't want them to die, like whoever is in the eggs. Right? So it's like the desire, like the right intention, but made the wrong implementation. That's what I'm getting for the masculines. That they want to do the right thing, like to protect, to express affection, to show care, but it doesn't always look like that, because a lot of times they show that through either taking over in terms of decision making and telling feminines or other close people, right? Doesn't really matter. Telling people what to do. Like they like to solve, right? They see the situation, they need to provide a solution. So a lot of times they just tell you, go there, do this. And maybe you never asked for it and it seems offensive. Like, so you just assume that you know better than I do, right? Or maybe I didn't ask for your advice, I'm fine, thank you. But a lot of times masculines just skip those steps where they're supposed to have a conversation about it, maybe provide an opinion or an option, or support or help, like offer some help in that way. Again, right? The same thing that you can speak about in very different ways, right? But instead they just like, okay, you have to go and do this. Or you know what? Tomorrow I'm giving them a call and I'm gonna solve this. You're like, what? Excuse me? And they think that they are the hero of the day, right? Like it's exactly the right thing to do, so why not? Interesting. Okay. Messages from feminines to masculines. The Hierophant, clarified by Ace of Swords. So feminines are saying they are rediscovering their values when it comes to self-righteousness and how they want to build the family, how they want this connection to look like day in, day out. Like how we're gonna communicate, how we're gonna build our lives, right? What is gonna be our truth? What is gonna be our inspiration? Look at the sword cutting through fire, right? So it's like this beacon. Look at this Hierophant. There's an owl with a book here. So I'm getting a lot of like studying, learning. It doesn't have to be studying books necessarily, but still it's like exploring, right? Understanding, like comparing different experiences in life to understand like what do I need to be comfortable, or what kind of approaches worked, didn't work in my previous experience, right? What do I want to take with me? What do I definitely want to change? What do I want to have a conversation about with my person so that we work something out together? Message from masculines to feminines. Page of Wands, clarified by Judgment. Yeah, so another card to me about learning, studying, and paying attention, right? And with the magnifying glass, it's like paying attention to some details that seemed small before, seemed insignificant. But now with the Scorpionic energy, whoa, big time difference. Like, oh my gosh, that is apparently one of the most important things. Like that communication that I was just talking about, right? Maybe they thought that for example, the tone of voice didn't matter as long as the message was like honest and they were confident that it's what was needed. But the tone actually matters. The words that you choose matter a lot, right? Like, and it's like now sinking in, like, oh wow, yes. So because it's Page of Wands, I'm getting that it's not so much maybe about the words than it is actions in this case, right? Like they're seeing like what kind of impact their actions make or have made, right? Maybe they didn't pay attention to some things they did or they didn't do. But it was actually important. So they're seeing the importance now. But what went between the masculine and the feminine? Because this part of the reading is specifically between the twins, right? So the masculine and Sarah are now reconsidering certain actions that they took and certain actions that they decided not to take. And how it may have delivered the wrong message. Didn't really get across what they were trying to do here. Or maybe they just didn't think about it in the moment. Like they were preoccupied with something completely different. And now they're looking back and like, oh, my feminine probably thought that I was insincere here, or that was insensitive of me to say something like that. And I didn't even think about it because my attention was fully here. Okay, I hope this was useful for you guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. I love you all. Check out my readings on Mindful Bamboo channel. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe this reading. I love you all, and I'll be back with more very, very soon.